On a cold, wintry night in Colorado in January of 1982, a man is rescued on a mountain pass by what can only be described as incredible luck. Almost 4 decades later, with the help from genetic genealogy, his real reason for being stuck on that mountain pass is revealed. He's arrested and charged with murdering 2 young women he allegedly killed just hours before his rescue. This story begins just before midnight on January 6, 1982. 30-year-old Alan Lee Phillips was driving his pickup truck over Guanella Pass. It was 20 below zero outside, and there were whiteout conditions. Motorists SOS catches eye of passenger in jet. Alan Phillips found himself stranded in the snowy Colorado mountains without tire chains this week. So he used his pickup truck's headlights to flash an SOS that was spotted by a passenger in a jetliner thousands of feet above. Phillips, 30 and resident of Georgetown, was driving home Wednesday night from Bailey, Colorado, and had to cross 11,665-foot Guanella Pass. Near the summit, his pickup truck got stuck in snowdrifts. Phillips had warm clothing and an emergency blanket to keep him warm, but no tire chains. Quote, "You find out how lonely it is really quick," end quote, he recalled. Quote, "I thought about walking to a ski area nearby and went about 200 yards and thought, no way, it was too cold," end quote. As he sat in the truck with the temperature at 20 below zero, wondering what to do, Phillips heard an airplane overhead. He started flashing the headlights in the SOS signal, 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. On the plane was Harold E. Bray, a passenger flying to San Francisco on business. Bray also is a sheriff in the Denver suburban area of Jefferson County. Bray noticed the lights flashing below, recognized the code, and alerted the plane's pilot. The pilot radioed the FAA, which dispatched 2 nearby planes to investigate. Mike Wilcox, the pilot of a Rocky Mountain Airways plane, spotted the truck and radioed the FAA. The report was forwarded to the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office, which sent out 2 vehicles to rescue Phillips. One of the men who rescued Phillips was Dave Montoya, a fire chief in Clear Creek County at the time. Montoya said that when he found Phillips, Phillips was so happy and proclaimed, "Oh God, I'm saved." Montoya then said that Phillips explained that he had gotten drunk and decided to drive home. Phillips said that attempting to pass over the mountain seemed like a good idea. And Montoya wondered how this guy had gotten so lucky for a sheriff on a plane to see that SOS sign and alert the pilot. Montoya later said in an interview that Phillips did have a decent-sized bruise on one side of his face, and Montoya had asked him what happened. Phillips said that he had gotten out of his truck, and when he got stuck, the snow was coming down so hard that he couldn't see what was in front of him, and he ended up running into the corner of the cab on his truck. And this story made sense at the time because there were whiteout conditions. Montoya wanted to take him for medical treatment just as a precaution, but Phillips declined, saying he just wanted to get home because he had to work the next morning. Now, Montoya actually knew Phillips because they worked together at a mine at the time. Phillips was a mechanic and Montoya was a miner. Montoya said that Phillips seemed a little drunk but in good spirits, and he didn't appear to be nervous at all. He said Phillips didn't have a weapon on him, and after he declined medical treatment, Montoya gave him a ride home. He then told Phillips that he would need to find a way to get his truck down from the pass, and Phillips said, "No problem, I'll take care of it," and that was it. Now, on the same night, about 50 miles away or so, 2 young women went missing from Breckenridge. Montoya had no idea about these missing women, and the missing women and Phillips being rescued seemed completely unrelated. Now, back in the early 80s, especially in this area, it wasn't uncommon for people to hitchhike. It's obviously very different now, but back then, it was commonplace and considered to be normal. It was believed that both women were abducted, assaulted, and then killed after they were picked up hitchhiking home from work. These women were not together that day, and they did not know each other. Annette Cashney was days away from her 22nd birthday when she disappeared. She worked 2 jobs, one at the Holiday Inn in Breckenridge and the other at a local tavern. After she finished her shift at the Holiday Inn on January 6th, she stopped at a pharmacy in Breckenridge. She had wanted to stop home and change before going to work at the tavern. Annette was last seen hitchhiking south from the town of Breckenridge around 4:45 p.m. Her body wouldn't be found until 6 months later. Miss Schnee's body was located 6 months after her disappearance/death on July 3, 1982, in rural Park County, Colorado, approximately 20 miles south of Breckenridge. She was shot outside in a rural, isolated mountain valley area where there would be no witnesses. It would have been dark, possibly snowing, and very cold, -20 degrees. The death was due to loss of blood from a single gunshot wound to the back and appeared to have occurred at the location where the body was found. The body was found face down in a small stream, fully clothed, but with clothing in disarray. Cold weather and cold water preserved the body for an autopsy. The weapon used was possibly a handgun. No bullet was found in the body. 29-year-old Barbara Jo Oberholzer also worked in Breckenridge in an office building. She often went by the name Bobby Joe. On the same day, January 6th, after work she decided to have a couple of drinks with some friends. She was last seen around 7:50 p.m. hitchhiking down the road towards Alma. And you can see here on the map that Alma is just south of Breckenridge, and she lived there with her husband. Her body was discovered the next day. Miss Oberholzer's body was located approximately 3 p.m. the next day on January 7th, 1982, on the summit of Hoosier Pass at 11,000 plus feet elevation. A small parking lot is located at the pass summit, and the body was found approximately 300 feet further south along the road to Fairplay, Colorado. The summit is approximately 10 miles south of Breckenridge, Colorado, along Colorado State Highway 9. The shooting occurred outside in a rural, isolated mountain area next to Colorado Highway 9. It would have been dark, possibly snowing, and very cold, -20 degrees. Death was due to loss of blood from a gunshot wound of the chest, with a second grazing wound to the right breast, and appeared to have occurred at the location of the body. The body was found approximately 20 feet off of the highway, down a snow embankment, and was lying on her back. Items from Miss Oberholzer's backpack/purse were located approximately 20 miles from the crime scene, along U.S. Highway 285 south and east towards Denver, Colorado. The weapon used was a handgun using a Remington/Peters copper-jacketed hollow point bullet. This weapon has not been recovered. A copper jacket from Miss Oberholzer's body is available for comparison. To make sense of all this, let's take a look at this evidence map from RockyMountainColdCase.com. As you can see, all notes for Annette are in green and Bobby Joe's are in blue. Let's start with Annette. Annette is last seen in Breckenridge at this pharmacy, and she's observed chatting with an unidentified woman there around 4:45 p.m. She then leaves to go home and change before her shift at the tavern. As you can see here, her home is close by, just off Colorado 9. She vanishes at that point, and her body isn't discovered for almost 6 months. On July 3rd, Annette's body is discovered all the way down here, south of Bobby Joe's home in Alma and west of Fairplay. At the scene, a few of her belongings are found: her left and right boot, one orange bootie, 2 long socks, her sweatshirt, and her jacket. Months later, in September of 1982, Annette's backpack and a photo of an unidentified man are located just south of her home and just northeast of where Bobby Joe Oberholzer's body was found. And as you can see, this green notation here for Annette is right at the scene where Bobby Joe's body was found just 1 day after she vanished. Annette's other orange bootie is found here, and remember, at the time it would be 6 months later until Annette would be discovered. Now, in Bobby Joe's case, she was last seen the same day as Annette, but around 7:50 p.m. And you can see here she was last seen around this mini-mart hitchhiking. Her body was found the next day around 3 p.m. here, along with her keys at Hoosier Pass, along with Annette's orange bootie. Bobby Joe's left glove and hat are also recovered. The rest of her belongings would be found the same day along U.S. Highway 285, as you can see here. Her backpack was found, and you can see some of the contents there. A tissue in her right glove was also found there with the backpack, and you can see bloodstains here on the glove, which would be very important years later. Further up 285, Bobby Joe's license was found. Now, for years, this case remained open, and detectives were determined to solve it. One retired homicide detective from Denver, Charlie Mccormick, was drawn to this case, and he just couldn't let it go. In 1989, Annette Cashhney's family hired him as a private investigator, and he worked on this case practically every day for the last 32 years. He only charged her family $1 a year to stay on the case. A few years later, he volunteered his time at the district attorney's task force who were investigating this case. Charlie said that through the years, they investigated numerous leads, including serial killers in Montana and Idaho. Leads in the investigation even brought them overseas, but it wasn't until genetic genealogy was being used that helped finally crack this case. Now, genetic genealogy is the combination of genetic analysis with traditional historical and genealogical research to study family history. In a forensic investigation, it can be used to identify remains by tying the DNA to a family with a missing person, or to point to the identity of a possible perpetrator. Now, Mitch Morrissey had been elected district attorney in Denver and served 3 terms. He had expertise in DNA technology, and after he served his terms in office, he co-founded a company that does genetic genealogy called United Data Connect. He wanted to continue to help solve homicide and sexual assault cases. Now, Mitch reached out to Mike Mills from Metro Denver Crime Stoppers because they were using this technology and basically funding all the expenses for it. He told him it would mean a lot to Charlie Mccormick if they could help them and fund it for this case. And Mike Mills had no hesitation. He said yes, they would help. Let's take a look at United Data Connect, who highlighted this case on their website. A bloodstained glove found in Oberholtzer's backpack was tested and had an unknown male DNA profile. In February 2020, the Park County, Colorado Sheriff's Cold Case Task Force, in conjunction with Metro Denver Crime Stoppers, retained United Data Connect to sequence a DNA sample and conduct investigative genetic genealogy analysis. United Data Connect provided Park County with the investigative lead, which identified Alan Lee Phillips as the suspect. Phillips was arrested on 2 first-degree murder warrants on February 24, 2021. In early January of this year, before Phillips was arrested, he was under surveillance by the CBI, FBI, and Clare Creek and Park County Sheriff's offices. On February 20th, while under surveillance, Phillips was observed going to a Sonic drive-thru in Littleton and then to the Dumont post office. Inside the post office, Phillips threw away a brown bag that was retrieved by police and taken to the DNA laboratory at CBI Denver. On February 23rd, DNA samples from the brown bag were found to be consistent with genetic profiles developed from the glove and tissue once belonging to Bobby Joe Oberholzer. On February 24th, authorities conducted a traffic stop and arrested Phillips at that time. There were no issues when arresting him, and Phillips didn't make any statements when he was told why he was being arrested. He was charged with 2 counts each of first-degree kidnapping, first-degree assault, and first-degree homicide. Now, what's interesting to me is that Phillips stayed in Colorado for most of his life after allegedly committing these crimes. He had lived in Fairplay, Denver, Idaho Springs, and Georgetown before moving to Dumont. At the time of his arrest, he was 70 years old. He was a semi-retired mechanic and had 3 children from a previous marriage. Now, at a press conference, a reporter asked if Phillips was a suspect in any other crimes, and Tom McGraw, the sheriff of Park County, was non-committal in his response, but he did say that in his experience of 38 years of being in law enforcement, anyone who can commit a crime like this, he believes could have the tendency to commit other violent acts. We'll play the press conference for you at the end of this video. All the agencies working this case did a phenomenal job, and it is really highlighted in this press conference. Now, authorities are calling on the community to provide information that they may have to assist in this case. I'll leave the number for the designated tip line down below, and callers can remain anonymous. Alan Lee Phillips has a preliminary hearing that is scheduled for September 13th. Now, I'm going to offer some of my own opinions on this case, and that's all they are, just my thoughts. I find it interesting that Phillips would stay in the same area he allegedly committed two horrific crimes in, settle down, and have a family. There's a certain kind of confidence you must have, believing you won't be detected. Furthermore, there's the confidence he appeared to have the night he allegedly committed these crimes and trying to save himself up on that mountain pass. We know that most serial offenders prefer to hunt in places they feel comfortable in. Their anchors are usually their home or where they work. They might venture away from what they're familiar with to build confidence. Another thing that really stuck with me about this case is that these two women were killed the same night. I think when there are more details available about everything that happened, it will help us understand if this was a spree killing or something else. Now, I've read comments about this case wondering if Phillips had killed before and was possibly a serial killer. Typically, there's a cooling off period for a serial killer. There's a lot of emotions and rituals that go into their crimes, and that doesn't really fit with two murders happening within hours of each other. But we'll have to wait and see how the investigation unfolds. The most important thing is that justice is served for Annette, Bobby Joe, and their friends and family. It has been a long time coming. But I'm going to go ahead and play the press conference now, and then we'll go to our end screen. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our uploads. And as always, stay safe, keep investigating, and we'll see you soon.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Colorado Bureau of Investigations. My name is Tom McGraw. I'm the Sheriff of Park County. I'd like to thank members of law enforcement joining us today for this event. We have represented with us today, we have Lieutenant Steve Gramilli with the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office. We have the FBI. We have Damian Hutto, he's an ASAC with the FBI, present with us. We have John Kemper. Where did he go? Nope. We have, hold on a minute, Chris Schaefer with us, Deputy Director of the CBI. We have also with us, we have Linda Stanley. She is the District Attorney for the 11th Circuit, 11th District. Park County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Wendy Kipple. And we have Mike Mills, Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. And we also have Mitch Morrissey with the Data Connect, United Data Connect. And we have Joan. Where did Joan go?
Joan had to go in the ladies' room.
Oh, okay. We'll get her in a minute.
No, she'll be gone.
All right, I want to thank the media for taking the time to join us today to provide more details, so we can provide you with more details about the arrest involving the homicides of Annette Schnee and Barbara Joe, otherwise known as Bobby Joe Oberholzer. These two vibrant women with their lives ahead of them were last seen outside of Breckenridge in January of 1982. While they were not together at the time of their disappearance, they are forever connected through the suspect who allegedly took their lives and through the exhaustive work by investigators who never faded in their determination to solve these cases. Following their disappearance, they were, after their last seen hitchhiking outside of Breckenridge in January 1982, Barbara Joe's body was located one day later. Annette's body was located approximately 6 months later, both in Park County. Pictures of Bobby Joe and Annette are located on the monitors around the room. Do we have those up? There they are. That's Annette Schnee and Bobby Joe. Before I announce the arrest, I want to focus on the most important part of this case, and that is Bobby Joe and Annette and their families. I cannot begin to understand the pain and sufferings their families have had to face for nearly 4 decades. With each year that has passed, they have remained vigilant in their unwavering commitment to seek justice for Bobby Joe and Annette. I'm here to tell them that their journey for justice, has a much clearer path. While the families did not want to speak today, understandably so, I have statements I'd like to read on their behalf. I pray that the arrest of Alan Phillips for the murder of my wife Bobby Joe and Annette Cashney will finally, after all these decades, bring closure and peace to this hideous nightmare for myself, along with all the lives he has horribly affected by his actions. I cannot thank enough all who never gave up the search for the truth. They are without doubt extremely dedicated and extraordinary individuals. Phillips is finally in the hands of the judicial system. May justice be served. This is from Jeff, better known as Oberholzer, the wife of Bobby Joe. The husband, I'm sorry. His wife is Bobby Joe. I, the daughter of Bobby Joe Oberholzer, would like to thank both Charlie McCormick and Richard Eaton for never giving up on solving my mom's case. When I look into my child's blue eyes, which are truly beautiful like my mom's, I see her. I have lived with a monster in my mind since I was 11 years old, and now I can rest knowing justice will be served. That is Jackie Vukas Walker. She's the daughter of Bobby Joe Oberholzer. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everybody who has been involved in the investigation of this case. It has been a mind-boggling affair. We finally have closure after 39 years. I thank you all. I am just in shock that this case has finally been solved and come to an end. Also, thanks to all the TV people with Unsolved Mysteries, Discovery Channel, and Paula Zahn. Thank you all for your efforts to help bring us closure. This is Eileen Franklin, the mother of Annette Cashney. We ask that you respect their privacy and not contact them at this time, as they do not want to speak publicly. On February 24th, we arrested Alan Lee Phillips, date of birth February 6, 1951, for 2 counts each of first-degree kidnapping, first-degree assault, and first-degree homicide. He was arrested in Clear Creek County. He was taken to the Park County Jail, where he is now being held. It must be noted that the suspect is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This case began in collaboration with the United Data Connect and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Forensic genetic genealogy was conducted in these 2 cases beginning in 2020. This included research from genealogy sites as well as other public and law enforcement records. Did Joan come in? No. Okay. All right. That investigation resulted in investigative leads potentially connecting Alan Phillips to these cases. Once we received that information of pointing the finger at Alan Phillips, we began investigative work that's been going on for the past 6 weeks with agents from CBI, who we greatly appreciate their assistance doing that. The FBI also, we greatly appreciate their assistance. The Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Alberts, we definitely appreciate him allowing the help that we got from you. The reason it was Clear Creek was because Mr. Phillips resided in Clear Creek County. We spent probably 4 or 5 weeks conducting surveillance. A lot of manpower was used in that case, and we definitely appreciate all the help we got from all of those agencies. The 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office, Linda Stanley and her staff were a great help to us. We called up Ms. Stanley numerous times on the weekend and late at night asking for advice. And then finally on the 24th of February, we arrested Alan Phillips. His images are on the screen. The image on the left is from a much earlier date. I don't know if we have that exact, what his age was earlier. The reason we're showing these images of him when he was younger is that we're calling upon the community to use a designated tip line if they have information that could assist in this investigation. CBI is housing that tip line. That number is 720-248-8378. One more time, 720-248-8378. The photo on the right is his mugshot upon his arrest. Is Charlie McCormick, did he make it in? Oh, there he is hiding back there. One thing I'd like to say, the Park County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Wendy Kipple, she's been working on this case for a long, long time, probably over 30 years. She did a tremendous amount of work on this case. She spent hours researching, hours crawling through file cabinets, looking for records, was a tremendous help in this case. Then we have Charles McCormick. He's a retired Denver homicide detective, and he is a special deputy with the Park County Sheriff's Office. We have him, he's basically been a cold case investigator for us, helping us out. He's been on this case since 1989. Been a great help on this thing and has never let it go. And my hat's off to Charlie McCormick for staying on this case for so long. Been a big help on this thing. In closing for myself, one thing I would like to say is that when I became the sheriff in January of 2019, Park County Sheriff's Office, we had 4 unsolved murders. To this day, we now have 1 unsolved murder, and that's the case of Maggie Long. That's another case that will not be forgotten. We will continue to work on that case, and hopefully there'll be a day that I'll be standing up here talking about Maggie Long. I'd like to introduce Linda Stanley, the district attorney for the 11th District. And like I said before, she was a great help in this case, and we couldn't have done it without her. Ms. Stanley.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Stanley. I'm the elected DA for the 11th Judicial District. I was sworn in on January 12th at about 8:15 in the morning, and I was in Park County at Sheriff McGraw's request that afternoon to talk about this case. For the last 6 weeks, as Sheriff McGraw had reiterated over and over, we were working day in and day out on this case. I was the only district attorney that received the information from the Park County Sheriff's Office. No one else in my office was privy to it and handled it accordingly, all the way up to the arrest date on February 24th. I do have Stephanie Miller here. If anybody has questions for her, she will be the DA that's prosecuting the case. She is the DA in Park County. Obviously, I will also be assisting in that case. Thank you. I would like to introduce Mr. Mike Mills, who's with the Metro Denver Crime Stoppers.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning, or good afternoon. It's, for the last 3 weeks, we've been having press conferences around genetic genealogy. Metro Denver Crime Stoppers and its board of directors would like to thank all the men and women that are involved in this case. Our part, albeit small, of funding the genetic genealogy and the UDC part was a part that was needed to get us over the edge. Alan Lee Phillips, who was arrested for investigation on murder charges of Annette Cashney and Bobby Joe Oberholzer. For 39 years, this case has garnered much attention, and a lot was due to Charlie McCormick. And when Mitch Morrissey came to me and asked if we could fund this case, I said, well, normally we just do Metro Denver cases, which we've had great success. And Mitch said, Mike, it'd mean a lot to Charlie if we could fund this. And through a special donation by the Temple Hoyne Buell Foundation of $5,000, we used and earmarked that money for this Park County, Summit County case. In the past really 15 months, we've solved 8 cases with 9 victims through genetic genealogy. 6 of those were murders, 8 of those sexual assaults, and 1 Jane Doe, so some were carried over. We are very fortunate because I don't know of another Crime Stoppers program in the world that has committed so many financial resources to solve crimes as Metro Denver Crime Stoppers has. And it is the commitment that we hope to continue long into the future. It is always only made possible from individuals, businesses, and foundations that send us donations for us to use to continue these amazing partnerships and, more importantly, success. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Mitch Morrissey with United Data Connect.
I'm Mitch Morrissey. I used to be the DA of Denver. I got term limited, so I had to find something else to do. We started the United Data Connect to try to help solve murder cases and rape cases, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years. And this was one of those cases where, you know, it was mentioned that Charlie McCormick was a former Denver homicide detective, and he and I did not overlap. I was only there for 33 years, so Charlie's been gone a while. But I knew Charlie's ex-partner, and he passed away about 3 years ago, Lee Williams. And when Lee died, his widow made sure his son got me a packet. And it was a packet of the stories for the years on these two cases. And she said, make sure you ask Mitch, maybe he and his company can help Charlie solve this case. And obviously Charlie had given this packet to Lee, maybe just to mull over or something, because Lee had been a homicide detective for so long in Denver. And so when I got the packet, I called Charlie. And I said, Charlie, you know, we'd love to help you. Charlie and I had talked in the past about familial searching and trying to get to a resolution in this case. And I said, you know, the only hard part is you're not in the metro area. And right now we're funded primarily by Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. So let me talk to Mike Mills, who is the great leader of the Crime Stoppers Board, and we'll see if he'll make an exception. And I called Mike, and you know, it's been an honor to work with Metro Denver Crime Stoppers, because they really don't say no. And even though Park County, which I don't know if I've ever actually been in Park County, even though I'm from Colorado, I'm sure I've driven through it, but Mike, without hesitation, said, yes, we'll do it for Charlie. And so they gave us the funding to work with Charlie. It was an honor to work, Sheriff, with your department, with your people. CBI, thank you so much for your support here. Made a huge difference in this case. And the real reason we wanted to work on this case is that if you read the facts of this case and you think about these two young, beautiful women that you've seen pictures of, lying in the snow after being shot in the darkness by themselves, dying, basically freezing to death, it would make you not give up like Charlie didn't, and it'd make you want to answer the question of who would do such a horrible thing to somebody. So it's been our honor at United Data Connect to be part of this case. I know it's got a long way to go. The whole court proceedings have to take place, but we're glad that we are part of getting us to where we are today. Thank you.
We'll take some questions and see if we can answer them for you.
Sheriff, can you tell us a little bit about Alan Phillips?
Hang on. Sorry.
Can you tell us a little bit about Alan Phillips? What has he been doing for the last 40 years?
Our information is that he's a semi-retired mechanic, doing a little bit of side work, working on some vehicles and stuff.
Has he been arrested since this incident?
There was no major arrests. I think there's some traffic situations since 1982, but we're still looking into a bunch of different things.
Can you give some detail as to the arrest, how that went down?
Yes, sir. With Clear Creek Sheriff's Office and CBI, we've been, like I said, we've been doing surveillance on them, and the day that we had made the decision to make the arrest, it just was a traffic stop. It went very easily. No issues. Placed them under arrest and advised them of why, and then we took them to the sheriff's office.
Did he seem to know why you stopped him?
I would have to, I mean, he was advised of why he was being handcuffed. You know, that's kind of personal opinion of what you think, what you know, watching how he acts and everything. So,
What was that opinion?
yeah, I you know, I'd rather not get him, you know, giving personal opinions is not the proper thing to do.
Did he make any statements?
No.
Has he lived in any other states?
Excuse me?
Has he lived in any other states over all of these years?
He's lived in numerous different areas in Colorado. I don't think that he's lived much outside the state of Colorado, not since this incident.
Married, children?
He has a couple of 3 children from a previous marriage.
And where does he live right now? What's his last known address?
It's in Clear Creek County.
Yeah, in Clear Creek County. We'll leave it at that for right now.
Do you think he's a suspect in any other unsolved cases?
Well, I would say this, in 38 years of law enforcement for myself, anybody that can commit a crime like this of killing these 2 beautiful women, I think could have the tendency to commit other violent acts. But we're following up on everything, and that will be down the road. We'll see where that goes.
Is it unusual that someone, you obviously feel he did this, that he would still be relatively close to the crime scene and not have left?
Well, I mean, that when you look historically at people that commit these crimes, sometimes they stay in the area and sometimes they don't. So I'm not shocked that he was still around, but it happens. So it's not a big surprise.
Did the DNA come from the bloody glove, or did it come from some other evidence?
We're not going to talk about that right now.
Let's do a couple more questions, and then as a reminder, I'll be sending out a news release that recounts this.
Mitch, can we ask you about the successes that you've had? 8 of 9 cases, you've been able to identify a suspect?
Sorry. We have had a number of successes, not all of them cold case murders, some sexual assault. We were able to identify the young woman down in the pine forest who had gone unidentified for 27 years. We also, down in Florida and Orlando, identified the mother of 3 abandoned babies. She was leaving them on doorsteps when they were 1 day old. We were able to identify her through genetic genealogy. So it's not just cold cases, but obviously you guys come out when we solve a nearly 40-year-old murder case, or 2 murder cases like this one. Last week was a 40-year-old murder case. We solved the oldest murder case with genetic genealogy so far since it's been in use, and it was a 1963 murder up in the mountains again of a Girl Scout. So we've been very successful with the cases that we've taken on. The majority of them obviously funded by Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. And so when they talk about, Mike talks about the success rate, he's talking about the ones that he's hired us to do. We have some that we haven't solved that we're continuing to work, but these are very labor-intensive cases. We had over 12,000 people in this tree, in this family tree, to get to the point where we could give the sheriff's office an investigative lead in the hopes that they would get a DNA sample, then to confirm with the crime scene sample that it is the right person. So we provide the investigative leads. It's a lot of work to get to that point. But like I say, the generosity of Metro Denver Crime Stoppers helps us get there.
And with 1,700 or so cold cases, murder cases in Colorado, do you think that this could be applied to many more?
Well, I don't think it's limited to cold cases. We currently have an active case that only happened a year or so ago. And they don't have to be homicide cases, like I said. These are cases where DNA, we have to have that. CBI or Denver, whoever does the DNA, oftentimes has already put it into the national database, and the individual's not there. Sometimes other cases they're responsible for are there. but they're not there. And in some situations, like these 40-year-old homicides, these suspects tend to be dead, or they tend to be past their criminal careers. I mean, they've pretty much given up doing the crimes that they were doing. They're not ever getting in the DNA database. So CODIS is never going to give this sheriff an answer who killed these women. And that's when we step in with genetic genealogy. We take that DNA, we sequence it, and we then search the public databases that allow law enforcement to do this work in search of very far, sometimes removed relatives to get to the person. And we've been successful in doing that about a dozen times.
How does it make you
Let's go
feel
last,
too?
let's go last one here.
Can we hear just briefly from the sergeant or from Mr. McCormick, just their general thoughts about this case that they've been working on for so long, finally being solved, and what it means to them?
It's a relief.
Could you?
Come on up, Whitney. Charlie, why don't you come on up? Come on.
Can you just say your name also before you start? And just...
I'm Wendy Kipple. I'm a detective sergeant with Park County Sheriff's Office.
Sergeant, can you spell your last name, please?
Kipple.
What are your thoughts about this finally being solved, and how long have you been working on this?
I've known about the case since I started working with the Summit County Sheriff's Office in 1989, and I've kind of been involved with it peripherally on and off throughout the years. And then when I went to work for the District Attorney's Office in Fairplay in 2013, then I got a lot more heavily involved in it. And then since I've been at the Sheriff's Office, really heavily involved in it. And it's a relief to have this done and to have an arrest and give closure to families.
It must feel personally gratifying.
Yeah. Yeah, because these cases get into you and you can't let it go.
Charlie, why don't you go ahead? And if you could spell your first and last name, that'd be great.
Charlie, Charlie, McCormick, Mccormick. The question was, I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts about this case that you've been working on for so long, finally apparently being solved?
I've been trying to define my emotions, and it's been very hard to do. It's like a new beginning or an old death. I never thought I'd see the day, frankly. I've been working on this case since 1989. I can give you the story behind that if you like.
Sure.
Well,
Real briefly.
real briefly, okay. The case happened. It happened. The case happened in '82. In 1984, Richard Eaton, who was a detective with the Summit County Sheriff's Department, was assigned to the case. He worked it until 1989. He and I were friends by then. He asked me to take the 2 case books home and look at them. I did, and I've been locked into the case ever since. We now have about 48 case books. So it's been a long haul. It was helped enormously when in 1998, I think it was, we discovered that we did have DNA that we could use. And it's a case that just kept going because it kept going. There was always something to do that as a good investigator or a professional investigator, you couldn't ignore. You had to work on it. So day after day after day for 32 years, bingo. It's all, or at least there's an arrest.
I think that's going to wrap us up. Our phone line is about ready to expire, so I want to thank everybody for attending today.